track, and then you can just see it settling in all through the pack. Now it's going to be the racing in the mid-pack. I think that was actually Nathan Allen that didn't get quite a good run, and Riley Jones, it might have been, that's looking to fight him, and now they'll settle themselves in, all single-filed out. Look at that high entry into turn number 3. They're trying to look after their tires. That's what that does as well. They're not forcing the cars to do anything, and Harris is going to have a go here. Sends it deep, deep on the brakes, and it's actually going to be Brian that lets him have it. So it's going to be Daniel Harris that leads us back to lap number 2 and down the back stretch for the second time. This is Paul Brian maybe saving a little bit of fuel, trying to extend the life of these tires a lot further. Yellow flags out for the first time tonight. Car at the tail end of the field is
we've got a Vincent, looks like Jeremy Bush, and might have pushed Callum Hodgkinson off the road as well. We're going to get a quick action replay thanks to DSL Welding Services.
I don't think they knew there was 3 wide there.
No, that has caused quite a decent crash. So did they make it through that first lap?
They did. They survived the first lap. That's lap number 2 coming down to turn number 1 for lap number 2. So
well done, guys. That's a great improvement over the first season, first round.
That's who's inside. I'm actually curious. So we're 3 wide in the middle of the pack, trying to sort themselves out coming through there. Taker's on pit lane. No one's actually come down for a splash top up of the fuel. If I'm at the tail end of the field here, I'm going a splash of fuel. So.
Oh, would you pull in now and get a bit of a splash and dash while you've got the time?
I mean, there's no reason not to. You're already at the back end of the pack, so that's already where it is. So it's actually Miles Burgess that was actually on the inside of Jeremy Bush, and he actually wasn't there. He was sort of had his nose there. He got a lot of damage from lap number 1, so a lot of things have happened to Miles Burgess. Things haven't gone his way.
No, definitely not. There was we saw about 4 or 5 guys get caught up in that little incident, which, you know, if it was further to the front of the pack, we probably could have had a complete and utter field wipeout with an incident like that. Bounce off the wall and straight back into the field, so tricky racing.
It's actually really tricky to get these cars. So I went back and had a look at where the damage from Miles Burgess actually came from. It's not actually from the incident with Jeremy Bush. It's actually from the initial jump. So these cars, the trucks are very, very difficult to get rolling. Don't have a lot of traction initially. They can kick sideways. That looks like that's the case with Jeremy Bush. That's actually where the damage from Miles Burgess came from. He just sort of got a really, really good launch and wasn't really sure. He's actually ended up making contact with the rear bumper of Glenn McLeod. McLeod was having a great run. McLeod actually got loose actually off of turn 4 as well, so we checked up Jeremy Bush, and that's what enabled the overlap, because it looked like it was a really weird incident, sort of actually a multi-layered incident. This is something Racing Tosco should have a look at.
Worth going back and have a quick look live on stream then?
May as well. We've got a caution. That's the benefit.
We do have a caution. We do have a caution. So we can probably
have a look at the run here.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, have a look at Glenn McLeod is that blue car up ahead with the 84 on the side of it. Very loose, car's a little bit sideways coming off the turn of the floor. Jeremy Bush is trying to look after himself. Remember what I said, keep yourself alive into that late race. So he just checks up a little bit, Burgess gets underneath him. I don't think Bush expected him to be there, and that's just what it is.
That is oval racing for you, isn't it?
I mean, they were 3 wide there. It's quite tricky, and I mean, I don't think Burgess knew that he was 3 wide as well, because he's only got the nose in there. The iRacing spotter and the way that all of that works is it only sort of calls it when you specifically are 2 to 3 wide with somebody else. So if your nose is only alongside one other car, and that car's got a car to the outside of his nose, he knows that he's 3 wide, he knows that he's got a car underneath his rear bumper and a car on the outside of his front bumper, but nobody else will know that they're 3 wide.
Oh, right. I did try and do a bit of oval racing again.
Oh, here we go. This should be good.
Yeah, no, it wasn't good. I used to do quite well in the Dragonrc Cup, and then for some reason, I don't know, I think it was my setup. Every time I turned a little bit left, my whole car would just want to leave the track. Yeah, I kept blaming cold tires too, so.
Easy cars actually suffer from cold tires quite a lot. Stock cars is not necessarily cold tires they really suffer from. It's more the wheel will rotate on cold tires, whereas Easy cars tend to push or the really aero tight.
are back and the restart is underway. We are lap 7 of 100 after a small incident at the start of lap 2. We're going to try and keep on board with as many of these cars as possible so we can see everything that's happening across the grid. Try and keep an eye on all the action tonight.
We got cameras everywhere. We got them in the sky, man. That one's hanging off the bottom of the wind for sure.
Oh, this is my favourite chopper cam.
That's the fastest drone in existence. Fastest out of the race, Daniel Harris is actually just on the 29.471. So remember what I said at the very beginning? You know, you want to look after these guys, you want to conserve them. Harris isn't. He's just going for it. He's a long way off the track.
He's trying to make up for that quitting out on us last week, right?
He must have heard the commentary he said, the things he said about him. But, you know, that's going to play on his mindset tonight. How does he set himself up? How does he approach the racing? I said to him, look, man, he come in and he asked me for a couple tips prior to the race tonight. And I said, look, it's all about tyre conservation. There's a slow car actually at the back end of the pack. I noticed that.
Good evening, sim racing world, and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the DSL Welding NASCAR Trucks for round 9 of our American invasion. Tonight we have taken flight out of America and landed in the picturesque landscapes of Japan. I am Nathan Shibby Howard, and joining me as always is our encyclopedia of everything oval racing, Scotty Rankin. So Scott, are you excited for our broadcast of the Pepsi Max 75 here at Twin Ring Motegi?
Mate, I'll tell you what, I love this track. This is... I've probably said last week that Kentucky's... I may have lied when I said Kentucky was my favorite track, mainly because I probably really don't know what my favorite track is. But this is Motegi, the only trip outside of the US of A on iRacing for oval racing. It has been a fair long time since stock cars have actually been to this circuit. In fact, it was more recently used by the IndyCars, and famous victory, I believe it was, for Danica Patrick, and I think her only IndyCar victory actually came at Motegi. So really phenomenal performance from her in that race there. It's a great track in the IndyCars. It's really, really fun. It's tricky. This is where the driver is going to be most challenged all season long in terms of looking after their cars, keeping their cars pointed in the right direction. There's going to be a few opportunities here tonight where you're going to see drivers self-spin, and it is a tricky track. It doesn't get used that often. It's dirty, it's dusty, it's a very low grip surface. This is all the things that you don't want a NASCAR surface to be.
Mate, it sounds like it's every surface we want to see tonight.
You say that now. You're going to regret that, surely.
Look, mate, I'm not driving, so best of luck to all the drivers out there tonight. And all we can hope for is a fantastic show, just like this series has given us so far, with the points being so close. The top 4 are all within like 10, 12 points of each other. So this is coming right down to the final races.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is absolutely tricky. This is one of, you know, what don't you want when you're coming into a championship race? 2 races left to play for, 4 points cover your top 3. You probably want a nice, easy race, to be perfectly honest with you. You don't want something that's going to be throwing a little bit of caution to the wind, something that's going to trip a few of these guys up. I was talking to a few of the guys in practice there. I just went and had a quick word with Braden Martin. I know he's excited for the championship points, because I think this is the closest he's ever actually been to in contention for a championship. There's a really reasonable back to 4th place in terms of the championship points, so it's a great opportunity for him to finish on the podium. And one of the biggest things that's working in his favor is that he's got a little bit of a bank of points up his sleeve. I think he's actually got the drop around that's worth the most points at the moment. So if he has a bum night tonight, he doesn't actually go backwards. He doesn't lose any points whatsoever. He just sits exactly where he is. Well, actually, sorry, in fact, he'd go a few points back, basically the difference between his worst finish and wherever he finishes tonight. So he's got that up his sleeve. In terms of things, though, as the numbers are sort of fallen off, one of the worst possible things, though, is that drop rounds are less and less relevant as the season goes on. So another little bit of a tricky thing to sort of stick in the back of the book. It's another phenomenal night in terms of oval racing, and tonight the driver's going to be pushed to their absolute limits. We've been short track racing once this season. whilst it is a 1.5 mile oval, it's more reminiscent of a short track in the way that it races.
Oh, mate, I'm absolutely excited. I'm gunning for a NASCAR overtime again. I really am. I can't get enough of them.
I think Grant Matterford wants a word with you.
Oh, mate, they're so exciting though. The final,
look,
you know,
they are.
They
are. There's a lot to sort of really be overjoyed about in terms of them. But Grant Matterford wants last week's race win back. So he was there. He was in the box seat for it, and it didn't go his way. And that's racing, baby. So see if he can improve things by one spot tonight. Doesn't have to be much, just one spot. That's enough.
All he's got to do. We got a question from Daniel Fritz on Facebook. Thanks for dropping in, Daniel. And again, thanks for everybody out there dropping in to watch this broadcast with us tonight. But Daniel Fritz's question is, doesn't iRacing have Monza as an oval available?
That is true. That is the only other exception. However, I don't really consider Monza to be a true oval. It's really bumpy. It's really inconsistent. And the other problem is the primary layout for the Monza oval is actually a right-hand turning oval. So therefore, it's actually not. You can run a left-hand turning configuration at Monza, but the thing is to actually set these cars up, because they're set up in the way that they're actually built within the frames and things to turn left. So when we actually go to road courses, the setups are actually uneven, because to get the truck to be level and sort of square with the way that they drive, you have to sort of lower the ride heights on the right-hand side of things to shift that weight balance. Lower the right height on the left front to sort of shift that weight balance back across. I don't know. There was a thought there and I've lost it. I can't recall how it is precisely to set these things up, but to set them up to turn left properly, it's sort of a unique build, a unique setup to turn back in the opposite direction. So Monza's a tricky one. The oval does exist within iRacing. It's not a great racing oval, to be perfectly honest. It's completely unique in the way that it drives, much like Motegi.
Gonna say, did you skip sort of with what you were trying to say there, because you had a little bit too much of the sipper meter tonight? Oh, speaking of,
maybe
Mr. Peter Morris has dropped into the chat again. Mr. Peter Morris, you're supposed to be racing, not watching the broadcast. He's dropped in. He's increased the size of his sippometer glass tonight to accommodate for the NASCAR overtime. So.
Talks to Grant Matterford. I think he wants an increase in the sippometer tank size from last week. So one week too late in terms of increasing that tank size. But hey, it's the thought that counts.
It is the thought that counts. And thanks to our major sponsors tonight, DSL Welding, DragonRC, and the Promo Department. Let's hope we don't see any of that beautiful... Actually, we don't have...
Speaking of practice lap times, Grant Matterford actually topped the board in practice. That's the first time I've seen him top of the board in terms of lap time. So I'm actually really, really impressed. That's a great job from him. Yeah, he's put in a fair bit of work. I'm impressed.
Nice. I was just looking at timing tables then, and I was like, what do you mean top the times? I was like,
He was in practice, not in terms of the race.
I was just looking at the timing table then, and
have a look at the spread of times though. It's really unusual to see a spread of times that wide.
You know what? Not unusual.
Great backgrounds in terms of the DSL Welding Services picturesque shots.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. And SDK working thoroughly.
Mate, I could actually tell you that SDK is actually having some bugs and issues at the moment. We had it last night in the streams that I was working with there, so it wouldn't surprise me if FCK has actually encountered some errors with the last couple patches.
It actually has. When iRacing finally let off their season update for the new season, there was definitely some big issues between SDK and iRacing itself. So I do believe they're still working it on in the back end and trying to get everything smoothed out. Of course, with a big update can cause big problems with programs that are using it. So it looks like though everybody's finished their quali laps. We've got Grant out on track though, which is nice to see. The quali in the NASCAR trucks is so quick because, as we know, the tires burn off so fast. So the boys are always out for a 1-2 quick hot lap, and then, you know, it's done and dusted. They're quali time is set. We've got Braden Martin up the top with a 36.6. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The top 6 are all in the 36s. So everybody is within a second of each other through our whole field. So if they can keep that pace up tonight, we're going to see some nice side-by-side rubbing and racing goodness.
Mate, one of the
NASCAR.
things you're definitely going to see tonight is not just some side-by-side rubbing and racing. You're going to see some sideways action, and not the dirt kind. No. This is definitely an asphalt oval. So,
you sure it's an asphalt oval? You want me to just double check that with you? It could be something else. Let's go.
I don't get it. Was there a joke there, Nathan? Did you just try humor on me, sir?
The dirt track that was clay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have finished the joke. I'm a little bit caught up here on the back end, just trying to see if I can sort this issue out. So
you see what happens. You take 1 week off in terms of talking, even though you were with me here last week, and we lose all. What is it? Synergy.
Synergy's good work. I like that. We'll work with that.
Did you know that that NASCAR likes to use the word strategery? Or at least they did at one point last year. Strategery, yes. They don't use strategy in NASCAR, they use strategery. It's the same as strategy, but with an extra emphasis. What the emphasis is on? No clue.
No clue?
None. Guess who we've got on race control here tonight, which is abnormal.
I don't know. Daniel Weaver?
Pete Baxter. Pete
Baxter's on NASCAR tonight.
Yeah, he is. He's dropped in. He got a last-minute call-up to be our race controller for this evening. So I'm wondering whether or not we can call on him throughout the evening.
Hopefully we can. He's always so full of good knowledge and helps us determine what's happening out there on the track.
Speaking of Pete Baxter, how are you, mate? It's a lovely Monday morning Monday evening in Japan, just after 5 p.m. sim time. Long flight over from the United States of A.
Yeah, I think I got put on the flight 30 minutes ago, and it got here really quickly, so it must have been a Concorde.
Mate, can you hook me up with whoever your flight services provider is? I think I need to talk to them.
Love to, but they are unidentified airlines, and it's a highly kept secret. It's used especially for late notice race control.
Well, it looks like they didn't actually have the ability to get the race control car in there, so we will be using iRacing services for the race control car here this evening. You're an avid Oval fan, that much I do know. Taking a break for your IndyCar series that you normally work with on a Monday night.
Yeah, well, we've got this week's the night off, and then next week we start Series 3 for 2022. So it's a rare night when somebody says, oh, can you jump in? I say, actually, I can tonight. I shouldn't. I should be practicing Interlagos in the IndyCar, but, look, it's always good fun to jump on the sim and see what others are doing, right?
I actually got really excited, and I nearly registered into the server, and they went, oh, wait, no, I actually can't do that. I'm a broadcast here tonight. That's the wrong role. So, yeah, look, I'd love to be out there with them. Have you ever driven a few laps in Motegi?
I have, in the IndyCar, not in the truck, though.
Thoughts on the bumps down in the middle of Turn 1 and Turn 2?
Oh, I love it. Man, Motegi is a cracker. Like I said, I've driven it in the IndyCar. I don't normally do the trucks. I find the IndyCar far more exciting and a lot more dangerous. But, it's a hell of a track to drive. So.
Oh no, Pete, no! You didn't just say that about your IndyCar exploits. So you don't actually know this, and the guys that are actually at home don't know this, but Pete has this really bad ability to find himself in other people's incidents, like incredibly poor. If there is an accident and it's happening in the first 10 laps of an IndyCar race, Pete Baxter is generally on the inside, on the outside of it, and the accident just sort of happens into him.
I'm like the IndyCar speed bump, aren't I? Of global racing, so yeah. Sorry, I probably shouldn't advertise someone else, but yeah. No, that happens. But you know what? It teaches me really good skills to be a race controller, because I get to look at other incidents and go, now, what did somebody else do to me that time?
Oh no, Pete. Well, I better let you have at it. I'll leave you with it, mate. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being your entertaining self as always.
No, look, I'm looking forward to a good, entertaining truck races. I've seen the ridings of these ones. I've watched the broadcasts here and there, and they've actually really been entertaining. And as a race controller, I've actually seen some of the protests, and I've thought, actually, this is going to be some cool stuff. I'm going to have a look at some of this.
We'll send you back to the Sippometer room with Peter Morris by the sounds of things.
No worries, Scotty. Have a good call, man. See ya.
Have a great night, mate. Have a great night.
All right, we have officially gone green for lap 1 of Twin Ring Motegi. This is going to be
what, Brett Martin didn't just put a great lap time, a stonking lap time down in practice. He backed it up. He put it on par in the race. And Grant Matterford's right there as well. That's the best that both of these guys have qualified all season long. Matterford walks the car up to the wall. Watch Braden Martin on cold tyres try and wrangle up some really cold rear tyres, and down on the inside comes Hayden Norris, and Matthew Scholes makes his return to the series. Finally, we might manage to figure out what the boat ramp's all about.
Oh, that's true. It was Scholesy that we had to ask that question to, wasn't it? About the cats and the boat ramp. All right, we've got ZK1WI Driving and Gunners in our YouTube chat. Thank you so much, guys, for dropping in. And we've got a beautiful little comment here from ZK1 Driving. He said, thanks so much for all our streams and for this wonderful commentary. For this tournament in which we all can get better from lap to lap. Much love and respect for you all. So thank you so much, mate. Thanks for dropping in.
But we've said that every week, haven't we? As we see a big dive to the inside from Hayden Norris trying to get underneath and unsettle the rear bumper of the number 09 Locked On Lads machine, who's led probably the most back-to-back laps he's led so far this season. I said to him over the weekend, I said to him after last week's race, you're going to put some practice in. And he said, you know what? I think I'm going to have to now. The championship is just too tight. He's excited. He's in for the fight. And Hayden Norris right there along with him. And I think Paul Bryan started a little bit further down than he's probably a little bit used to. He started in grid position 6. He's already grabbed 2 spots. Grant Matterford's solid back into P number 3. Hayden Norris has got a really good run this time off of turn number 4. Not going to block it. Going to block it a little bit. Gets a little bit of a bump and shove. Ladies and gentlemen, it's only lap 4 and Hayden Norris and Braden Martin already into it on the run down the front stretch.
Well, that's definitely what I want to see tonight, mate. It's getting closer and closer.
Have a look at DeBono. Dylan DeBono, a couple of spots back. Last time out at Daytona Speedway was his last round of the series. He put an aggressive showing on only to run out of fuel. And now he's up and underneath Tom Neal's 38 machine. Neal's going to send it from a mile outside all the way down the inside. DeBono didn't quite get there. Wasn't able to carry enough entry speed. Neal's had to lift off in the mid-corner. DeBono's got a great run off of the corner. He's now there to the inside. Still only a quarter of the truck of Tom Neal to his outside. DeBono's momentum going to get a little bit compromised. Had to get to the apron slightly early. Will he drift back? Is Neal going to settle on that gas pedal? Doesn't walk the car all the way out to the exit, and racing thick, fast and heavy. DeBono will throw that one away.
Just had another great comment from our Facebook viewers, Glenn McLeod. He said, watch this Daniel Weaver to come from the back for back-to-back wins. He also said, sorry I couldn't be there this week, boys. Well, thank you so much.
Unfortunately, Daniel Weaver actually did send me a message slightly earlier in the night. He wasn't actually able to make the start of the race. So he did register for the server, but wasn't able to join the race and run. Had some issues that he had to go and resolve. So that is, unfortunately, Daniel Weaver not joining in on the race.
Oh, unlucky. I could see him in the session there, and then, yeah, he has not taken to the track. Oh, no. Well, Glenn, you're gonna have to pick another winner, buddy.
Maybe it's Grant Matterford's night for success. Hayden Norris has managed to get that lead away from Braden Martin. When I was talking to Braden earlier on this evening, he said one of the biggest issues that he thought was probably his tyre wear. He knew that he was wearing right fronts. He wasn't sure how bad he was going to be on the long runs compared to everyone else. Dylan DeBono having a few connection difficulties. Still trying to get that pass done on Tom Neal. And Scholesy might start lining him up here in a minute. Might send him down to the boat ramp down here at turn number 4.
We'll find out what that's all about if he gets on the podium tonight. Gary! Fighting
The sippometer in fine
yeah,
form.
the sippometer. Mr. Peter Morris just came moving through then. Got a great little pack of 4 at the back here. I'll tell you what, I think Peter is due for some nice finishes, that's for sure. Just needs to put that sippometer down a little bit. And
I think if you have a look at Peter Morris's finishes, one of the bigger things I think I've noted is, again, similar to Peter Baxter, maybe it's something to do with the name Peter. He's just found himself in the... Oh, Redcliffe got back to the gas, a little bit aggressive there. That's one of the biggest issues, is coming off of turn number 2, is that the truck does want to step sideways. There's not a lot of banking in 1 and 2. And then, well, there's not a lot of banking around the track in general. So it is going to be similar to that round we did see at Coda, where they're going to struggle for traction at both ends of the track. Both ends of the track. Both ends of the steering rack too.
I was just having a look at where Peter was landing. So he has actually got himself a 4th and an 8th and 2 tenths. So he hasn't actually done all that bad. Got himself into the top 5 a couple of times.
He is the best placed Fishy Motorsports car in the field. I think he's locked that one up at this stage.
He has, actually. That's a guaranteed.
A Gary Redcliffe guaranteed?
100%. Had Riley Jones drop in on YouTube. Thank you so much for dropping in, Riley Jones. He said, let's go, Paul Bryan. You got this, bud. Sorry I couldn't be there, boys. Problems downloading the track.
Yes. That's an issue. I mean, when I picked the track, actually, when I was running through the list of circuits we're going to be running at this season, the reason Peter Morris has had an issue, or is he just defending? He might be defending, might have had no, he's defending. He's defending or trying to get a move done. Redcliffe's going to really send that one from outer space to try and get to the down the bottom of the track. The reason that we went with Motegi is that because it's got the road circuits as well. There's not a whole lot of tracks on iRacing that have oval and road circuits as a part of the one deal. So I went for a few tracks that you would get a road circuit and an oval. So I figured a few of the boys would have Motegi for racing on road. Therefore, they're more likely to have Motegi oval.
It's a good way of looking at it too, especially when you're planning out a series and a new series. You don't want to slap it in the face with all the new drivers and be like, here, you've got to buy 10 brand new tracks now.
Fun fact, I've actually, this is a circuit race, right? Most people would think that somebody who joins a service as a circuit racer, you'd think, right, I've run laps at the circuit here. I've only ever raced the oval. I've never driven a lap on Motegi circuits, any of them.
Well, tell you what, now I own the track, I might have to do that.
Great motorcycle track, actually. Really good. The MotoGP here is fantastic every year.
Right, Glenn McLeod has dropped in and said, if that's the case, Martin's going to finally get the win. So he's putting his money on Braden tonight. As we see Grant Manafort get side by side with Braden.
I'm actually really impressed with Grant Manafort. This is the strongest he's looked all season. And he's got some confidence up. From last week, he put himself in a really good spot. I actually would have been a lot more aggressive if I was in his shoes with a fresh set of tyres at the tail end of the race, where he was. Because remember, he was one of the only few cars that did actually come down and take that set of fresh tyres at the tail end of the race. And sure, look, I mean, the fuel race, it went away from him and didn't go in his favour. But when you've got fresh tyres on, you've got to be aggressive. He let the top guys go away. And I actually think, regardless, he should have stood on the podium last week. But this week, it looks like he's got a little bit of the elbows out. So he's doing a great job. Really good job trying to be a little bit more aggressive this week. And I'm really impressed. That's what I wanted to see.
Yeah, well, we know that NASCAR overtime can definitely throw a spanner in the works. You think you can be prepared to have your tyres and your fuel set right to the end of the race. And then, surprise, here's 3 extra laps just for you.
You got to come back down to the pits and listen to the sound of those lug nuts being torn off. Somebody in the chat last week was thoroughly enjoying that sound, the whirring sound of the rattle gun.
You and your rattle gun.
Oh, big move down to the bottom of the racetrack. Aggressive move from Scalzi. He's managed to keep his foot in the gas, so De Bono had to drift up the track a little bit. caught the slide, then tried to get back to the power, started sliding again, had to come out of it, and that's why Scalzi will get this move done. So DeBono's left the door open, and Scalzi's opened that one up. He's got to try and clear him here and get back to the top. Looking for the over-under here is Dylan DeBono. Not quite going to get it. Scalzi, move done. Up to P6, and what a move from Matthew Skulls.
That was a beautiful move. I did notice there too, just as he was coming out, he had a bit of extra power into the floor and saw the back of his truck sort of skip a little bit, and I started holding my breath for him.
There's two big old bumps down there in turn 1 and 2, so the next time we come through, we might actually see if we can get a shot of what it looks like, because have a look at the track, right? It's got one really big open wide corner and a really narrow one. They really have to use the brakes to get the car pulled up down here. How hard do you use the brakes? What brake bias you run? That's actually the power here. The guys normally at most tracks are using a steering ratio of 16:1. What that means is a really wide open steering ratio, you turn the wheel a lot further to get the same level of turning. The lower the number is, say 16, then 14, then 12, those going lower or faster steering ratios, you turn the wheel less to get the same amount of rotation in the front tires. So that's how you save a little bit of tire in these trucks. However, tonight, the trucks are a little bit wiggly. If you have to overcorrect, or you have to correct a slide, you want a faster steering ratio so you can catch it quicker, keep your momentum going. So it's a little bit of a balance between how much tire saving do you want to do and how much drivability you want out of the truck as well. Scalzi's putting on a masterclass of the moves now. He'll send it to the inside on Tom Neal. He's going to get 2. So Scalzi's on a move. Not quite got the move done as they get halfway through turn number 1. Will manage to get the clear, and Tom Neal slides down to P6. Matthew Skulls up into the top 5 for the first time tonight.
It's good to see the drivers pushing a little bit harder tonight and really pushing these trucks to the limit. From the start, we saw them, being probably a little bit more timid as being new drivers to the series, and now it's great to see them really starting to push these trucks hard.
So that rubber's coming up and the track temperature's starting to go down as well. So those lap times, and then, you'll look at after tyres really, really nicely. DeBono's now going to start lining up Tom Neal. So he fell back. He was racing quite hard very early on. I think he burned off a lot of his tyre trying to get that move done on Tom Neal. But now Tom Neal, trying to run away from everyone's burned off his tyre, has opened up a little bit of a window. Aiden Norris now is starting to come back towards Braden Martin. I think he's either made a mistake down in the first turn, or Martin's tyres are starting to come back towards him. Grant Manafort is slowly falling backwards a little bit, but this is your tightest battle in the field right here. Jeremy Bush has had a mistake at some point as well. He's fallen the tail end, right to the tail end of the pack. He was struggling. I was talking to him as well prior to the race. He said he was struggling with the car, was really struggling to keep the car underneath him and traction. This is going to be a difficult old night for Jeremy Bush, and it's going to be a long one, unfortunately, as Chris Thornton going to go for the send from the 1.5 mile back. He's forced the response from Tom Neal. Tom Neal's had to run a very, very high line. If he could get the truck stopped, if he could get the truck turned in, he would have kept the momentum up there on the high line. He's still going to be there as Chris Thornton looks to show the nose on the run into turn number 1. And the high line is going to be where Tom Neal is abandoned as he is sinking through the field. Gonna need to find some sort of a solution, Tom Neal.
New tyres, that'll fix it.
I will fix it. Darren Palmer has been the first one to come down a pit road and look to get a service done. Splash of fuel. 4 fresh Goodyear tyres, sticker tyres as I like to call them. Good run there off turn number 4 for Tom Neal. I'm almost wondering whether Chris Thornton actually is shifting in turn 3 and 4 and missed the shift coming down the front straight because that was quite late momentum. So what these guys can do, you can listen to the onboards, is if you hear them shifting, that says that they're struggling to get the car stopped in turn 3 and 4, and they're getting a lot more torque, a lot more drive off of the corner. Only in 3 and 4 by using third gear. Have a look at the line from Tom Neal. That's just about perfect. Gets it down to the apex. Then you've got to let the truck flow back up and out. There's a little hump there on exit. Indy cars don't like that. Trucks, yeah, they like it a little bit better, but not quite as bad as the Indy car. So this one's not quite done. That battle's going to rage for a whole bunch of laps yet.
Sure is, and we've got the back here. We've still got Gary and Mr. Peter Morris still going for it.
These guys are having an absolute hoot. I think this is where you want to be. This is where all the fun is back here.
Until someone in the front, Marcus, decides to slide out, hit a wall and bounce across in front of all the traffic, and then it's probably not the place you want to be.
Yeah, we'll see about that. So,
Mate, so far so good. These guys are putting on an absolute brilliant display of driving tonight. Everybody's so smooth out there, sticking to their lines.
I was really worried we were going to see caution after caution after caution after caution. So just having a quick look at the times up and down the field at this point in time, Braden Martin's just 1/10 of a second on the last lap slower than Aiden Norris. Grant Matterford also running about the same time. So they're sort of staying somewhat even. 1.5 seconds is the lead from Hayden Norris up to Braden Martin. And then Matterford sort of going with him. And then Paul Bryan's 1.5 seconds further back. So 37.655, only car in the 37.6s at this point of the run. In the middle of the run, Braden Martin did actually come back a little bit at Aiden Norris, but Aiden Norris has found something again, or Braden's just overdriven the tyres just a fraction, and it's starting to run away from him again. So that's your race scenario as it stands.
We've still got Scalzi pushing hard on the back of Paul Bryan as well, which is good to see.
Ooh. Yeah, Paul Bryan's actually falling off as well.
Pushing on the back of Skulls.
Be interesting to see if Scalzi, when Scalzi does get up to Paul Bryan, how easy he finds it to clear him. He has, so Bryan is very quick in turn 1 and 2. He's managing to keep the momentum up at this end of the track. But the problem is he's actually losing a boatload of time down in 3 and 4. So whether or not he's having issues with the brakes and getting the truck to stop, remember, you know, these things are designed to use throttle most of the time. They're not really, the brakes aren't, they're sort of an afterthought. But then again, Paul Bryan drives a lot of sprint cars, but they only have one brake across the 4 wheels, so.
But I think we were discussing that we think that these still, and as far as we can see, still use the old drum brakes. May not even be on any discs. Something I should look up, actually, because it honestly wouldn't surprise me.
You'd think they should move with the times. They should have gone. I mean, how old are Walkmans?
I don't even want to talk about bloody Walkmans, mate. Jeez.
Mate, because portable cassette player, that was the deal. That was the deal, mate, back in primary school.
I remember when I had my first Sony Walkman CD player, and you could...
So Paul Bryan is really holding that truck down. See how he's a long way down the track? Coming off of the turn there, have a look at where the run's gone from Matty Skulls. Sends it wide. So Bryan's running, he's just sort of forcing the truck to do things, and that's where he's losing that time. But at the same time, have a look at Scalzi. He's a little bit out of position on the way into turn number 1. Hits those bumps and just skips sideways. He's so long out of the gas that now De Bono's going to run on him. Now, where does De Bono try and take this run? Scalzi's going to try and pinch him off, try and sort of cover it off. Gary Redcliffe as well. He's on an outlap. So Gary Redcliffe's on fresh tyres here.
They're all starting to bunch up.
De Bono gets checked up on the lap car.
Whee!
So theoretically, Gary Redcliffe should actually be the fastest car of this pack. So him actually losing spots is not the best thing for him. And I think that's Jeremy Bush that they're going past at the same time. It is.
Yeah, it is, mate. Yep.
Jeremy's having a torrid old time back there. He's apparently found the best ways to wear out tyres, and that's not something you want to practice.
Well, unless it's a drift truck, and then wearing out your tyres is the perfect thing you should be practicing. But Paul Bryan pulling into the pits. Oh, and he's hit the pit. Whoa!
So that's disastrous from his point of view. So what he's done there, he's downshifted. He's downshifted too aggressively. You got to leave it in gear. You'll probably hear it when you go back here on the replay. You'll hear his engine just sort of sudden peak and the rear tyres all lock up at the same time. You shouldn't lock it up on brakes alone. So he's fine, he's fine, he's fine. Downshifts. That's a downshift.
Unlucky, mate.
Finally gets it into the booth. He's going to lose a lap. He is basically going to lose a lap there, based upon that. Fresh tyres might be his only saving grace. Hayden Norris has just come into the pits, so Braden Martin here will probably look to extend this run with 31 laps in. So we are 6 laps from the halfway mark. Now, Grant Matterford, went a long, long way on fuel and everything last week. So if he can continue extending that stint here, he is sitting in a really, really good spot. But there's this whole pack of angry cars way back up the track behind him. They're 2.5 seconds back from Grant Matterford, though. That's too far. So that says to me that these guys are going to have to come into the pits shortly. Will they go 1 lap? Will they go 2 laps longer than everyone else? And here's the tricky part. That's the pit lane entry on the left there. You've got to stop it halfway through. You've got to start slowing down halfway through turn 3, turn 4.
Which is, as we discussed, these trucks aren't that easy to slow down, especially if you're paying attention to your racing line and then at the last second realise you were meant to pit. It could be a interesting entrance to the pit line, that's for sure. And
the other thing is, they don't have brake lights.
Yeah, that's true. You won't see the truck in front of you braking. Oh, we could have some very interesting moves into pit lane tonight.
So how that's worked with in real life is that you'll have spotters up in the tower. So you would have heard us talk about spotters and what they do.
Oh no, Skulls, he's hit the wall!
He's trying to race as hard as he possibly can. Now, I'd say Norris on a fresh set of tyres. Gary Redcliffe is immediately in behind there on a fresh set of tyres. The problem for Gary Redcliffe is he's trying to mind his P's and Q's. He's actually trying to be very, very cordial to everyone around him. The problem is, whilst he's doing that, he's racing at these slower cars' speeds. He's come in for a fresh set of tyres. He's got to push. Gary Redcliffe has got to force his way through these guys. And it's one of the hardest things because you pass them, the blue flag pops up. What do you think an iRace is supposed to do? What do you normally do when you see blue flags? You back off and let the faster cars come past you. It's actually the opposite.
Yeah, don't do that in NASCAR.
No,
Fight for your
blue flag
position.
means nothing. Nothing in NASCAR because you've got to keep onto that lead lap.
Frick!
If you're coming to the pit lane, if a caution comes out and you've mind your P's and Q's and you've let that leader go past you, you lose a lap. You lose strategy, you lose track position, you lose time, you'll start potentially at the tail end of the field. You may not be able to pit underneath that caution. So you've actually got to fight. And it's something that's critically unique to everyone. And this is where a spotter and a crew chief really, really comes in handy in terms of NASCAR racing or oval racing in general, is they can tell you what pit strategies people are on around you and when just to let people go. It's pretty evident in how quick they approach you, but if you're not watching that mirror, say you're in a pack, then it's very difficult to pick that out. So that's something that these guys will be careful of. Do you know what? Grant Matterford, Dylan DeBono, Peter Morris, and Braden Martin. So Matterford's made the halfway mark or just shy of the halfway mark. And if somebody's going to make that halfway mark, it'll be Grant Matterford. The guy that's going to put the most amount of fuel in will be Hayden Norris.
With the later pit.
Earlier pit.
Yeah. Well, Braden Martin went in before them as well. Only a lap. But he definitely pulled in, and then next lap around, Norris, DeBono, and Matterford all followed suit.
So right now, remember what we were talking about last week, right? Now that I know that I can only get to lap 35, nobody can make it home from here. Nobody can make it home. So now that I know that strategy game, generally what you want to do is your first run, you want to run the tank dry as much as possible. Why do you do that? Because if you pit, right when the pit window opens, when you should be coming in to break this race up, you lose 2 laps, race is over.
Yep.
If that caution falls. Now that you've run through that first stint, we've gone green the whole way, there's no cautions, you go, okay, now I can trust the field. Now I know that strategy's I can play the strategy. So now I go, okay, right, I pit on lap 35, let's split this stint in 2. We've got 40 laps left to go, I'm coming in on lap 55. Why? I want to take 2 sets of fresh tyres. It's faster. It is so much faster to come in on lap 55, take most of the same amount of fill up you're going to take anyway. You lose 2 or 3 seconds in terms of the tyres that you're going to be on, but you gain all of that back in terms of the tyre wear. And that's something we talked about, I think, at length last week, and Grant Matterford nearly proved us wrong.
He did nearly prove us wrong. As we've already said, if it wasn't for that NASCAR overtime, he was on the podium. It was sold.
Chris Thornton has just set the fastest lap of the race, so he has found a bit of speed with 36.799. So all of a sudden, there's a fair few guys here that may have been holding back a little bit in that first stint. Well, now if this next stint's only 20 laps long instead of 35 laps long, I don't have to look after the tyres anywhere near as hard. I got to go. And Braden Martin had a really, really good, quick, clean pit stop, Hayden Norris came in 3 laps earlier. He's only a second up the road. He came in 1.5 seconds ahead of him, so he's lost time in the pit cycle. Scalzi just went even quicker again. Scalzi's just on a 36.681.
Yeah, wow, really pushing it. And right now we've got Aaron Hayden fighting for every inch of this track on the back of Darren Parmenter right now. Good to see.
I love that livery from Darren Parmenter. That is a beautiful looking truck. Yeah. Look at that. That is picturesque. That is a great job from the Velocity Sim Labs team.
Nice move here by Aaron as well. Can he get it done? He's just got to hold the speed off, but like the top line is going to have that little bit of edge. We've had
Braden Martin's. I'm a little bit curious about Braden Martin's pace because he should actually be quite massively faster than Hayden Norris at this point in time. So one of two things is happening. He actually thinks he can get home, and he just sort of wanted to short pit, come in a little bit earlier, buy some track position, and get out in clear air, which has actually really worked in his favour. He's definitely in clear air this time, miles away from Great Matterford. So that's a great job if he can make it home. Alternatively, he's made a mistake. So he's now cooked those tyres a little bit whilst they're still coming up to temperature. So he's got to be a little bit careful. And remember, this top 2, this is for championship places. And the other guy that's in this fight is all the way back in P8. Had that big spin on the way into pit lane, and he pitted early. So now he's going to suffer for this entire stint.
But David Nash dropping in. Thanks for dropping in, David. He's dropped in and said, good to see Catman up the pointy end. And then he also chimed in and said, someone pulled the cat fur over his eyes. So, mate, we really need to know what's going on about the cats and the boat ramps. It's been plaguing us for 9 rounds now. 9 rounds.
It was Scalzi, right? It was Scalzi,
I do believe it was Scalzi, yes.
We think it was Scalzi. Both of us have terrible memories. Both of us live lives that are way too busy. We need a reminder.
Yeah, so David, let us know. I'm sure you're talking about Scalzi. I'm putting my money on that it is.
You know what? I'd love to be the man sitting at the other end of the table that says, it was actually black. Give me all the money, thanks.
Yeah. The thing is, mate, I always bet black.
Imagine being Darren Parmenter. You would have gone your whole life with the nickname of Parmo or Palmy.
Palmy. Mate, Palmies are delicious.
Right?
I couldn't hate on a nickname like that.
I look at the problem is, I go out for dinner, I look at the pub menu, and I see the Palmy, and I'm like, am I going to do this again? And I take a look at the rest of the menu, I'm like, the rest of the menu looks fantastic, and man, you just can't beat a Palmy.
Yeah, see, I'm not a Palmy sort of guy, but give me a chicken schnitzel with a lot of gravy, and I'm all over it.
It's a Palmy!
No.
It's a Palmy light!
Palmy light. A Palmy light. It's a schnitzel with gravy is what it is.
Well, at this rate, we're going to get back to calling it a battered bit of chicken.
Yeah, a battered bit of chicken smothered in some powdered water.
Mate, if you end up racing one of these trucks, I bet to see a battered chicken livery.
Oh, mate, now I'm hungry. I have to go make myself up a feast.
You know what? We're all hungry here in the SRW DSL Welding Series, NASCAR Truck Series. We're hungry for some racing, and Darren Parmenter is putting it on a little bit of a show. Nathan Allen's having a really good night in terms of things as well. This is one of the best that he's run on a long green flag run all season so far. He's moved his way up into P number 9, but unfortunately for him, he's about 8 seconds off ex-teammate Paul Bryan. There was a big split in between the Velocity Sim Labs and the Man Up Sim Racing boys. They used to run effectively as 2 sort of parallel outfits. Not anymore. Paul Bryan wanted his own team back. He wanted to go in a different direction. He's done so, and the split wasn't as clean as maybe he likes. There is some beef there, so if Alan gets up to the rear end, there could be a little bit of fireworks in Paul Bryan's near future.
Oh, mate, that's what NASCAR's all about, right? Sticking the fireworks up your I was going to say your enemies, but enemies spoiler. Is not enemies. Is, yeah, up the spoiler. Yeah,
the rear fender.
Of your other competitors, I should say. Not your enemies.
Mate, rivalry is what it's all about.
Yeah, rivalries is that creates some of the greatest stories in motor racing history.
Who is the bad guy in Australian motorsports anymore? We had Engel. It's no longer him. And Chaz Mostert's too much of a good guy. He's too much of a larrikin to be a bad guy.
Do we even have anyone really classed as the bad guy now? Is that something that like the media is trying to not show? You know what I mean? Like
Roger Penske.
Penske?
I mean, there was a lot of hate thrown his way when he basically picked up his championship trophy. Went, I'm taking Scott McLaughlin and bailed off to the States with him. So there was a lot of hate thrown his way. He's not a loved man within the Australian motorsport community, but you've got to admire the success that outfit does. He builds a very, very good culture. I'm really not happy with the way that he dealt with DJR. That's sort of left them hanging.
I suppose that's a hard thing in racing, isn't it? You do it to help people out and have a great racing culture, or you want to make a bit of extra money, or try something different. And Hayden Norris and Braden Martin are side by side right now.
Well, this is a battle on tyres, so now watch the way that these guys will rotate the cars. This is on the way into turn number...
Coming up
1?
Straight, yep.
Yep, so this is, that's pit straight there. So that's off turn number 3. Darren, the Palmy! It's a Palmy with a side of chips either way!
That nice fat palmy sandwich.
Hayden Norris. Fish and chips Norris is going to have to go the long way around. Builds up the momentum. Look at the line that Braden Martin has and the fresh tyres on the bottom. He wiggles the truck trying to get back to the power. Braden Martin cares about this championship, He wants to win. Hayden Norris wants to win. Elbows out and shuffles the competitor up the track. Has to take a wider entry. Does the old crisscross back to the inside. And we have got a motor race on our hands. You talk about food for too long and the boys get hungry.
Bit of full 360 around the truck there. That was amazing to see. Up and then back down and back into the front.
Somebody buy Nathan Shibby Howard a gyroscopic cam and then send him to recording actual race. You have too much fun with that gyro cam, don't you?
It's great. I love the fact that I can manually control cameras. It's fantastic. It just allows me to add a bit of flair to the streams though.
If we were to take your stand down and say you're in control of the cameras on car XYZ for the weekend, go have fun. I tell you, the shots that you get back at the end of the weekend, either they're absolutely going to be fantastic, or he has not made it anything good, but he has had such a fun time. This is what he does for fun. This is what Shibby does for fun, guys. So that's why you end up with the broadcast pictures that you've got. And I have a feeling that you're going to start putting together your own camera packs for next season.
I want to. There's just a lot of series to work on, and then practicing the cameras is definitely the hard thing across multiple different tracks a week. So I've been working on the car cameras, so most of the cameras you see shot from the cars now is all my own camera pack that I'm still tweaking here and there, but yeah, mate, it's tough. It's tough.
The Shibby Howard camera pack's coming your way as of next season. Perhaps we'll get Motegi on the schedule.
Yeah, well, there's definitely some great spots that I could throw some cameras in. So
there's Grant Matterford racing around at this point. Oh, it's Hayden Norris. He is all of a sudden sunk. So Braden Martin's cleared him. It took him a few laps, but all of a sudden, is there a scrape of paint missing on the outside of that car too? Has he caught the wall somewhere?
On Hayden Norris's car.
I'm just going to have a quick look at his lap time. So his lap 51, he dropped half a second off. So he definitely had a big bobble, or he had an issue on that last lap somewhere. He dropped half a second out of nowhere. So, and it's not the first time that he's done that. Lap 47, lap 46 was a 37.537 for Hayden Norris, and lap 46, and then lap 47 was the 37.845. So he dropped 3.5 tenths there as well. So, or three and a bit tenths. So he's having a little bit of troubles with trying to keep the car underneath him.
Yeah, I was just having a look back to see if there's anything that I could see in our timings, mate. The last thing I see is that Braden Martin passed him, and then that's the end.
Set sail.
Yeah.
Absolutely set sail. Lap time was now, Braden Martin was a 37.472, and I believe Grant Matterford just did a 37.482. So Matterford's still hanging with him. But those tyres, they have gone good old pop for Hayden Norris. So expect to see him in the pit lane, I would say anytime now. I would be coming. If you're in Hayden Norris's shoes, just come. You're going to lose the longer you stay out there, the worse it's going to get. And if you want to win this motor race, you need to get in now, you need to get out there, and you need to burn some rubber. And I have a feeling that Braden Martin might be in at the end of next lap.
Paul Bryan just made a beautiful move on Chris Thornton there to move himself up into 7th place. So Paul's having an absolute screamer of a race.
On his recovery drive,
yeah, on
mind
his recovery. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, as we were just talking about with Hayden Norris, he has just pulled into the pits as back markers were starting to actually get up and around him again. So, is this going to be the right timing with 20 laps to go? Can he have full fuel?
Gary Redcliffe.
Full tyres? Yep,
Gary
Gary's
Redcliffe's
in the
in pit lane. Aaron Hayden's just come to pit lane as well, so he's back out, and he is going to go hunting on Darren Palmer. Darren Palmer pit on lap 47, so he's now fueled up and ready to go to the end of the race as well. And if I'm in Braden Martin's shoes, I sort of want to hedge my bets a little bit for Hayden Norris. I don't want to let him get 2 laps in, because if he does, he'll just straight pass Braden Martin back again. That lap fall off is quite excessive. Remember, the qualifying times were 36.658, 7.45, 37.0. So in and around that sort of a marker. And the fall off has been into the 38s for some of these guys.
Easy,
so
2.5 seconds lost just on tyre wear.
Cover him off. You know you've got better tyres than him. Don't let him in front of you, because if he can race you, if he gets track position on you, then you've got it. So it's a little bit tougher to rest it back. So it's actually only about a second of lap time fall off at the moment. Martin will do another lap.
Not much on the intervals, though. It's going to be interesting to see what happens as Tom Neal just pulls into the pits as well.
Paul Bryan
in as well.
Nearly got dumped by good old Chris Thornton. That would have been a heart and mouth moment.
Just had Gunners again on our YouTube. So again, once again, thank you for dropping in. Beef schnitzel with bacon, Italian sausage, chorizo, ground beef with sour cream. So I think he was going...
That's not a palmy. No, that's not a palmy.
No, but it sounds amazing.
If your goal was to make us jealous about food, then yes, you've succeeded.
Yeah. It sounds, that honestly sounds like a pizza that's made with schnitzel base and just meat lovers on top.
Have you tried that from Pizza Hut?
What?
Did you, they do a schnitzer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do a schnitzer. It may not be everywhere, but yeah, it's a thing certainly in my area. Chicken schnitzel with pizza toppings.
I sort of steer clear of very franchised pizza places. Seemings we have some really nice, wood-fired New York pizza style places around us. We seem to eat there more than the heavily franchised ones.
Braden Martin down in turn number 1. I've got my eyes on him at this point in time. That's Braden Martin. And if you go back about 10 seconds, right as he exited pit lane, have a look at this. You want to have a look at this. I would go in the cockpit of Braden Martin, because you are going to see a man at work. He's got to get this truck back up to speed. Whoa. And he shifts to second gear. He's tagged the wall. He's coming back to pit road.
Oh, he's done it twice. Oh my gosh, cold tyres, mate. Gentle on the accelerator, gentle. That could have championship implications. And I've just had a word in from our race controller so far tonight. Peter Baxter just said, tell you what, boys, it has been incident-free. If it continues to be incident-free, I'll donate my race control fees to a charity of the winner's choice. So there's an additional prize on the cards here tonight. That's fantastic. Just had Michelle Bauer drop in saying, bearded sim racer, go. Who is the bearded sim racer?
Who isn't a bearded sim racer?
I've definitely got a beard. You don't have a beard at the moment. I saw you on your live stream recently.
I mean, I can't grow, to be perfectly honest.
You can't grow a beard.
So I just can't grow facial. Is this Grant Matterford going for the same strategy as last week?
It looks like it, mate.
Additionally, if he comes down for the splash and dash, and he doesn't spin his tyres on the pit lane exit, where did Braden Martin come out? Braden Martin has come out behind Matthew Skulls.
Yeah. Yep, he's ended up in 7th. Oh, Great Matterford is pulling into the pits now, so I wonder if he's thinking, let's not do what happened last week. Let's make sure I'm on fresh tyres and full fuel tank just in case of NASCAR overtime.
Well, here's the thing. From Grant Matterford, he is now going to be the car that has the best tyres to the end of the race in terms of this lead pack. And he was right there, and he's in the window. Guess what? There's still 15 laps left of this race, too.
Yeah,
so,
it's not over yet.
I mean, that's a long period of time. The biggest issue is he's probably lost himself about 5 seconds to Hayden Norris, but this pit stop's got to be clean. It's absolutely critical that his pit stop, he gets in, he gets out, and he doesn't tag the wall. Braden Martin starting to send it to the inside here of Dunner and Palmer down the front stretch. Smoke in the background. That's a car on the fence. That's a caution.
Bono.
Where is the lead lap? I tell you what, Chris Thornton may be the only car on the lead lap here. Chris Thornton.
Oh, is it the blinking issue? We've had two cars come together here. We have.
No, that is on Paul Bryan.
Yeah, I wasn't saying who it was on. I was just saying we've had two cars come together. Let's see if we can get, while we go into caution, we're going to get a view from the back of DeBono to see what happened here. Oh, and, so, okay. Blinking
so
out a little
bit of
bit.
Blinking issues, but at the same time, have a look at DeBono's entry angle. It is shallow. So he's trying to cover off Paul Bryan, and Paul's just going, I'm committed, mate. I'm underneath you. Look, it's on both drivers there. That's more of a racing incident. DeBono's got to make the corner, but at the same time, so does Paul Bryan. But Paul, he's left enough of a window, and if Paul Bryan's on fresh tyres, which I believe he was, and I believe DeBono was not. No, they were both on fresh tyres. So DeBono was just coming up to speed. DeBono just exited pit lane. He was just coming up to speed, and Paul Bryan had a whole head of steam. So Chris Thornton will come into pit lane. He gets a freebie. He will most likely rejoin the race in the lead. Or at least very close to it. If I'm in Braden Martin's shoes, I say stuff it. Let's come back down pit road. He hasn't done so, though.
No, we've had Tom Neal and Paul Bryan pull in, though.
You know why? Now in Braden Martin's shoes, why I would is I've got a fast repair. Let's use it. I've nudged the inside wall, so I know it's not the cleanest truck in the world. He's not going to lose a whole heap of time. How many laps are we on? We're on 64. So he's done 6 laps on those tires. So that's 6 laps that you will effectively eliminate in a sprint to the finish. He will lose a couple spots that he probably won't get back. But at the same time, he's got so much fresher tires.
And we've already seen over the 9 races how much those tyres make a huge difference in the first 3 laps they're out on that track.
But track position's crucial. I actually, this is a direct conversation I was having actually with Braden Martin prior to the race. I said, my race strategy in these sorts of things is depending upon how the field's split up. If we're getting cautions back to back to back, 15 laps to go is the latest I'm coming. This isn't cautions back to back to back. You've got a whole bunch of spread of tyre strategies. Hayden Norris has got 10 laps on his tyres at this point. Braden Martin will have six to 7 laps on his tyres plus a couple caution laps. Grant Matterford has only just pit. He has a 7-lap better set of tyres, but he's going to cover off the run that's going to come from the inside, which is going to be coming from Scalzi. Scalzi's tyres are nearly the same age. Scalzi was just finding a fair bit of pace. Hayden Norris set a quick lap in those couple of laps that he come out of the pit, so he would have taken the edge off of those things too.
This is going to be interesting.
It's a very tricky situation, this oval strategy thing.
We've also got, 3 back markers actually in front of the lead lap driver Hayden Norris.
So they were going to wave by when we come around to go to 1 to green. So when those safety car lights actually go off, they will cycle through to the front. And they will, so they're already in between. Anyone that's in between the leader and the pace car will get shuffled to the tail end of the field, but they get their lap back. So that's what they're hanging out for. They strategically, they would have lost a lap here, so they get a lap back, but they don't get to pit. That's the trade-off.
Okay, I see. I was wondering what was happening there, because usually we do see them go around, so... Gunners has dropped back in, said better than Palmy. Unfortunately, no more Pizza Huts in South Australia. That's good.
Well, that's a bummer.
Well,
You know what I'm most
we've got an
disappointed though is-
all-you-can-eat Pizza Hut near us.
Oh, those are the places.
Yeah.
Actually, there's one near us too.
There still
We should go out
exists.
for all-you-can-eat pizza again, dear.
There's 2 in Queensland that I know of, and they're the only 2. And then ZK1WY Driving has dropped in with the After Dark, and then the fist up in the air. So he's cheering on After Dark Sim Racing tonight. Alright, as you can just see there, the back markers have been given their wave around, and we'll head round to the back of the pack before we go green for the final. What's that? Where are we up to? 9 laps. Into the final 10 laps. Come on, NASCAR.
So-
overtime.
A couple different strategies here, Shibby. The guys with the best tyres on are both in this right-hand lane. If I'm in Braden Martin's shoes, yeah, my tyres aren't all that great. I have put a couple of heat cycle laps through them, so I've taken edge off of them. But Grant Matterford is on the freshest set of tyres up here. The next best cars are back in P5, P6, who've just pit under that caution. So realistically, I want to be in the lane that's got Grant Matterford in it. Because if Grant gets a good getaway, he's going to be faster through turn number 1. Now, it is the longer way around the track. If he gets clear, dip down to that low side, but I would be trying to follow wherever Grant Matterford's going because that lane is going to be quick.
Yeah, the fresher tyres are definitely going to show the big difference off this start.
Watch Paul Bryan. I'm tipping Paul Bryan to make moves. He pitted under that caution. He's got a set of fresh tyres. He's going to have a head of steam up.
Well, we are back green.
Great getaway from Matterford off the outside of the front row. He's actually going to stay clear of Matthew Skulls. He's going to be able to slot down in. Martin's going to still try and get to his outside corner. Gunner looks to keep the momentum up, running that little bit of a higher groove. He's gotten to the outside corner of Matty Skulls. Christopher Thornton on fresh rubber is going to be 3 wide down the back straightaway. And Chris Thornton and Braden Martin are probably going to get into this corner 2 wide. Skulls, he may have to back out. Martin can't dive all the way to the bottom.
Gosh.
Trying to check him up. Does manage to get in there. Many Skulls had to bail out of the accelerator. Thornton sideways off of the exit of the corner.
We've had an accident.
Nathan J. Allen's in the fence and all done.
Is that going to be a caution?
That'll be an engine replacement. It's not necessarily a caution. It's stayed green. It's under iRacing rules. So Nathan Allen would have been at the tail end of the field. There was nobody coming. So there's no reason for iRacing to throw the caution. Braden Martin has gotten away with one right there, and Chris Thornton has thrown one in the trash can. Now it's on Paul Bryan. Keep your eyes on him. The 3 guys in championship contention are Hayden Norris, Braden Martin, and Paul Bryan. It's all to play for these guys, especially when Paul Bryan might get a freebie going down into turn number 3. Wiggle off the wall for Tom Neal, trying to fight as hard as he can. Gets the run from the high side, down the front straightaway, sorry. It is now 7 laps to go. Tom Neal gets checked up a little bit. Paul Bryan really getting a nice run to the bottom of turn number 1. Exit at turn number 2. Looking to hold some momentum up. He's now going to try and find a way to get through, and caution comes out once more.
Any word on what that caution was for? Is that for...
Chris Thornton's slow. Chris Thornton is slow at the tail end of things.
Okay, well, let's... Well, we got the caution out, man. That was exciting. Oh, you've got me on edge. I just love listening to you commentate the exciting parts too. Gets me going.
And now Braden Martin is up 1 more spot. And Grant Matterford didn't necessarily get the getaway that he wanted either, and he was starting to slip. So he ran a little bit of a slower lap on that last time by. So he's now back in the picture.
All right, so this is the replay with what happened with Nathan J. Allen. Oh, he's just let it loose.
Is he going to...
yeah,
no, okay, so it's just the shot to the inside wall. So what Nate's done wrong there is he's released the brake pedal. If he'd have stayed on the brakes, the car would have slid away from the wall. But because he didn't release the brakes, the wheels have kept running, which has kept the momentum firing him back into the wall.
His car was smoking, though, on the way through, so I wonder if he's blown his engine trying to bring that in. I am very interesting to see this and hear what's actually happened here.
Surely this isn't Chris Thornton and Braden Martin coming together.
That was the wrong replay. That is totally my fault. But this is the incident. He's just let it go. With this is Nathan J. Allen on board.
That's just a bummer for Nate. Oh, Nate's gonna actually get the lucky dog, so he's gonna get a lap back and potentially back onto the lead lap here as well. So. Okay.
His car was just smoking because of the damage it's taken. The tyre must have been rubbing pretty bad. I thought he might have blown his engine.
No, that's an engine. That's an engine. Tyre smoke, tyre don't rub on guards like that in iRacing, so... She's not that realistic. This might finally be it.
This is Chris Thornton, yes. Oh, he's just let it go himself. Oh, DeBono did well to avoid that then and get out of the way.
That's good car control because he's let it loop itself naturally.
Yeah, hasn't fought against it and just let it go. In some cases, that's probably one of the better things to do, especially if you got such a big sweeping area of tarmac, that he was able to just let that thing float, not have to try and fight it. Knew he had space from the wall and finished it up beautifully without bidding his car.
Hang on. Why has Grant Matterford got the lead of the race?
Yeah, he is. He is sitting in the lead right now. He was in the pits, so he's pit.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. So his last pit stop was just before the caution came out. So he's actually cleared Aiden Norris. Oh, I tell you what.
From what I can see, they've pitted around the same time, and Grant's actually managed to get out before him.
No. So these guys haven't actually pit. So these guys did not pit under that last caution. So under the current caution that we're on, neither of them have pit. The last time both of them pit was on lap 62 for Grant Matterford, lap 55 for Aiden Norris.
Oh, I've got it on iRacing lap 70. In my timing, mate.
Okay, maybe they did pit.
That would explain why Matterford's ended up...
No, it shouldn't, because if they had pit...
Yeah, I've got them...
Yeah, so theoretically, if they had pit, these guys would be shuffled towards the tail end because there'd be a few guys that didn't pit under that caution for sure that they'd be behind. But they're still at the front end of the field, which says that nobody's pit from at least this front group.
That's extremely interesting. What has happened there?
So I would say Matterford actually fought for and got the lead away from Aiden Norris right as the caution came out.
Yeah, it must be just as it happened.
So now this leaves Aiden Norris in a really tricky position. He's no longer got control of the field. His saving grace was that he controls when they go back to green. So now he doesn't have control of that. And Braden Martin is right there. Now, if Braden Martin finishes one spot ahead, finishes on the post. So basically with the gaps at the moment, it's 2 points from Norris back to, I believe, Paul Bryan. 2 points from Bryan back to Braden Martin. So there's 4 points that covers the top three. If you finish on the podium, if you win the race, it's 3 points back to P2. If you finish second, it's 2 points back to P3. And if you finish third, it's 2 points back to P4. The rest of the field is 1 point back, right? So either they finish off the podium, which means fourth, and somebody else that you're racing for the championship in Braden Martin has to finish sixth or worse for you to gain a spot. If he finishes third, he'll automatically gain a spot on Paul Bryan should Paul Bryan not finish on the podium. If he can clear Aiden Norris here, and Aiden Norris loses a podium spot, Braden Martin could be a championship leader heading into the final round.
This is nearly a NASCAR overtime. There's only going to be 2 laps anyway.
This is going to be in regulation NASCAR overtime. So this is effectively going to be a green-white checkered. However, we will still get 2 more attempts at a green-white checker. So Field's now in Grant Matterford's hands. He gets the power back down. Great launch from Matterford, and Braden Martin still to the inside of Aiden Norris. Norris's responsibility is to pinch him low, not give him the opportunity, not give him the momentum. Braden Martin is still there. Braden Martin has better tyres, and I would expect him to clear Norris. Norris gets a wiggle on. He's away out of the groove. The car is still sliding rear tyres. He's hung onto it somehow. now, and Braden Martin clears him into second place. The Locked On Lads entry back up into P2. Huge run. Now coming
there's an
incident. Paul Bryan and Aidan Norris come together. Are you kidding me?
They've held it on the track. It's still...
We're gonna get back to white flag. This is it. Next flag will end the race. Should it be yellow? Should it be checkered flag? It's all signed, sealed, and delivered. Finally, Grant Manafort leads him back to the white flag. Is he gonna win his first race in NASCAR SRW DSL Welding Services? He's got the lead down the backstretch. Paul Bryan's a long way down the track. Braden Martin will be happy with P2. He cannot win it from back there. He cannot lose a spot without making a mistake, and it's going to be Grant Manafort off of turn 4. He got denied last week in the run of the flag. This week he puts his stamp on it, and he sends the 79 machine to victory lane. What a drive, Grant Manafort.
Well done to Grant tonight. What a phenomenal drive. I don't know if you realised, mate, but as I come around the second last corner of that, then there was a huge incident in the back end of the pack. Cars went everywhere. We're going to get a quick look with that. So cars were 3 wide coming around this corner. And this was at the back of the pack. This is Aaron Hayden, Gary Redcliffe, and Jeremy Bush.
I tell you what, I'm watching Grant Manafort at the moment. He is celebrating all the way down the back straightaway. This is just 2 guys that just had a mistake. Oh my word, that man is celebrating like you would not believe.
He deserves it after last week.
Last week, he was 1 corner away from winning the race when the caution came out. He only needed to be 300 or 400 meters further down the track to win. This week, he comes back out, he races hard, he puts it on the front row, and Grant Manafort, your Pulse Racing Team entry, wins. And what a celebration too. Light those tyres up, Grant. They're digital engines anyway. You don't have to pay anyone to replace them. In fact, I think he's still got 2 fast repairs over the walls. So 2 spare engines to go with it. Mate, if there is not another most popular victory in the series, that's the one that I enjoyed the most.
Oh, mate, after last week, he fought so hard this week to make sure that he got that podium finish. And it just shows.
I'll tell you what. That makes the Pulse Racing Team the winningest team, I think, in the series too. Because remember, Lockie Capel won a round earlier on in the season too.
That's true. Yeah, that's correct. All right, Braden's already down.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Grant Manafort. Oh man, what a popular win. I'll be seeing those last couple laps in my sleep, I think, for the next week, and I think Grant Manafort will be as well. And, would you believe it, Matty Sculls sneaks onto the podium, and it's time to talk to a man about a boat ramp.
And a cat.
And a cat.
Yeah, and a cat.
Matty Sculls, congratulations, mate. An absolute melee, and in regulation NASCAR overtime, or a green-white check is. And it's time to finally get to ask you, what's this about a boat ramp, and what's this about cats?
It's just a couple of clowns.
Yeah, but these couple of clowns have been carrying on about this for 9 rounds now, so we need to know.
Mate. Yeah, we have to know, mate. We have been sitting here going, we've got to interview Scalzi, we've got to interview Scalzi, we've got to interview Scalzi. I think if you didn't get on the podium by the end of next week's result, we were going to interview you anyway just to find out about a boat ramp.
The boat ramp, you'll have to ask Jacob Hughes a little bit more about than myself.
Okay, so it's Hughes we needed to ask about the boat ramp, not you.
Correct. Yeah, he lurks around boat ramps. Myself, I'm known as the cat man in the crew because we've got a couple of cats in our house and none of the other boys have.
So does that put you in the catbird seat in terms of sitting there and getting to watch Braden Martin, Grant Manafort go at it? And well, I think you got the catbird seat to watch actually Aidan Norris go from a podium to back in the sunset.
Yeah, that was disappointing on the I think it was the second last lap there. I got clipped on the way through. I think someone must have missed the little brake marker and clipped me, but got Hayden good, so that was unfortunate.
Mate, it's been a stunning season from end to end. It's almost kind of sad to say that we're on the second last week of it at this point in time. The only oval series, only oval round that we've gone to outside of the US of A, has it been worth the trip to Japan?
I enjoyed it because it's a little bit more than just holding flat and doing all circles. I enjoy it a little bit more when you've got a little bit more to do with the inputs rather than just hold down the loud pedal and, sitting behind cars. So I enjoyed it tonight. It was good to actually get back. I've had a couple of weeks off, so.
I've got some great news for you. Next week in Indianapolis, then 90-degree turns, and the straights are long enough that drafting. So it's basically now, next week, you get to put together everything that you've learned all season long.
Yeah, perfect.
So braking, positioning, where the runs are coming from, and how to draft properly. So are you excited for a little bit of everything to finish it off at Indianapolis next week?
Yeah, for sure. There'll be plenty of carnage by the sounds of that.
Look, provided there's carnage on the cool-down lap next week, I really don't care.
I was actually surprised tonight we was green for so long, to be honest. Myself and Hayden hadn't done any laps here, then we jumped into the server and I said, well, there's going to be carnage for sure tonight. And I didn't want to go pitting onto green. I was waiting for a safety car, but they just didn't come.
So, mate, talk to us in terms of stability in the car, because it's a tricky track, and it's actually trickier when the track's sort of a little bit dusty and dirty, and then it comes to you. And then you got to pit for cold tires again. And cold tires is actually the trickiest part. Normally you go, long run, long green flag run. It's really tricky to hang on to the car on the tail end of the run. It's actually the opposite way around here.
Yeah, I noticed that big time. The first 2 laps are cautious laps. What I've been trying to work on, though, is trying to save my tyres a little bit. I'm early on in the season, I was sort of frying tyres a bit. I sort of had 1 lap pace, so I've been sort of working on trying not to get the 2 or 3 lap pace and make sure I've got some decent tyres under me at the end of 20 laps.
Well, it is what it is, man, and you finally managed to put all those skills together, get yourself back into the podium. Now, the only thing that's sort of left, I think we're going to make it a thing going forwards, is you made it a podium. We got to hear your best rattlegun impersonation. Have you heard what the rattleguns sound like in a NASCAR truck?
No.
They are 5 lug nuts, mate. So give us your best impersonation of a rattlegun hitting 5 lug nuts back to back.
Got no idea. Wouldn't even know where to start.
You'll have to look it up. All right.
I'll have to have a look yet.
You're going to bypass this week. Next week, even if you're not on the podium, all I want to hear is what a rattlegun sounds like, all right?
Yeah, no worries.
Shibby, I think you got some highlight reels coming your way next week with rattlegun sounds.
With rattlegun sounds.
All right, congratulations on getting yourself back onto the podium. Long trip over to Japan. Time to celebrate with the boys. Thank you to all your sponsors.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you, boys, for putting it on.
Oh, I was going to say, not just us.
Yeah,
there's obviously a few names on the side of the car.
Mate.
Oh, yeah, okay. Thanks. F Suicide, just the boys at Riot. Have good fun. Capital Custom Works. So that's about all. We just enjoy having a bit of fun and turning some laps.
All right, mate. I'll let you go back into it. Have a great run, and we'll see you next week at Indy.
Cheers, boys.
Well, he's going to be disappointed. But it's 2 podiums. He's going to, you know what? I've put my money on Braden Martin wins the race next week, or he wins the championship. He doesn't win both. He wins one or the other.
I think
Thoughts, Shibby?
We could be right, mate. Watching him from the beginning, 4th, 10th, 8th, 11th, 6th, 2nd, 3rd. And then tonight, another second. So,
I'll tell you what, we said he was going to be leading the championship last week. Braden Martin, I think you know what? Yeah, he's leading the championship again this week. I think the maths is better this time.
How you doing, boys?
How are you doing? That was, yet again, 2 races back to back. 2 times we've gone green flag, all but the race has been green flag. So I think it's been an interesting old ride yet again.
Yeah, it was good. I'm pretty thankful for the 2 yellow flags at the end, to be honest. I binned it coming out of the pit lane on my last pit stop almost twice. Yeah. I think I'm not used to starting on pole and then having the first bay, so my car was still getting up to speed. Normally in the pit lane, you can sort of put your foot down, get it up to speed, and then you can back off the throttle from there. But because I crossed the line before I was fully up, I must have had too much throttle and the wheels spun up and Yeah, I thought I'd thrown everything I'd been working towards away, which is a bit disappointing, but it was nice to be able to, get that last restart right. I knew I had the inside line. I knew I just had to make a good start behind Grant. I wasn't really racing him. It was just get up the inside of Hayden and see what happens from there.
So 2 restarts in a row, and the first one you start on the outside lane with Grant Matterford ahead of you on the freshest tyres at the front end of the field. What's your thought? We're going to ask you about each of them individually because there are 2 very distinct sets of thought processes. Because A, on the first one, Aidan Norris is in first, and that's who you've got to sort of get your eyes on and get chasing. And then B, it's a different restart outside to inside. So you got a good jump on the first one. What's the next step?
Yeah, it was basically just try and get the jump behind Grant as best possible because I knew that he had the best tyres. So I was hoping he'd be able to make some early progress. And then it was really 2 things. One, make sure I got my car alongside, I think it was Scholes, who's Hayden's teammate, to make sure that he wouldn't be in my way. And then it was basically try and get as low as possible to try and hold him to the inside line as much as I could and then get a better drive out was sort of my thought process. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but that was the thought process.
So, I mean, talk to us about that as well, because to be perfectly honest, I was a little bit surprised Aidan actually didn't come down pits and grab a fresh set of tyres. I was expecting you to come down and grab a fast repair. So the engine was actually okay. Things weren't too bad in that aspect. So a couple of different things going different ways. Do you think Aidan made the right move? If you're leading the race, coming back to green flag, period, would you have pit with 10-lap-old tyres? What do you do from where Aidan was?
I think I'll probably stay out. I don't think there was enough laps left to probably... I think the passing was quite tricky here. If you, as you saw, the field spread out pretty quickly, so the pace difference wasn't, I guess, really, really close. It was quite spread out. So I think he made the right call. I didn't have any fast repairs left because I used them both on my pit stops from tapping the wall mid-stint. So I just wanted to make sure the car was fresh for that last run. So I didn't even have any fast repairs to take if I wanted to.
All right, mate. Well, finally, there's 1 race left. What do you think? You can finally win 1 race next week. You've been on the podium so many times. You've been so close so many times. Is next week in Indianapolis the week?
I don't know. It's kind of something nice about if you manage to somehow pick up the championship without winning a race. It kind of, proves that theory of just being consistent and calm and not having to throw everything at the wins all the time. So I wouldn't be too sad if I don't get the win. I'd much rather it'll be all focused on doing the best job to keep the points ahead of Hayden and Paul. So I think Hayden had a bit of a problem at the end there, so I think he might have dropped a few positions. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out on the standings.
Well, conveniently, we can actually reveal to you it was actually your championship rivals, Paul Bryan and Aidan, coming together. So they both dropped a host of spots. So you will, what's that, 2, 4, 6 points you've made back up on Paul Bryan. So you'll have a 4-point lead over him, plus more to Aidan Norris, who did finish down in P10. So you would be 2, 4 plus 6. So that's 10 points. You had a 4-point deficit. So you've gained 6 points. I think those boys. So basically, going into this round, the championship might actually be flipped around. You were 4 points back off the championship lead. I think you'll now be 4 to 6 points ahead. Paul Bryan stays exactly where he is, and Aidan Norris, you and Aidan Norris basically just flip-flop positions. So it's going to be interesting coming to Indy. More importantly, do you have a rattle gun sound?
No. Do you want me to try one?
Yes, please. Do you know what it sounds like hitting? You know that these cars have 5 separate lug nuts per tire, right? So do you know what it sounds like?
I guess it'd be like, phew, 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 phew. Is that close?
I like yours better than Scotty's, that's for sure.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I'm giving you the win so far.
There's a sub competition. There's a secondary competition.
Is there bonus points?
Well, the championship no longer matters because the best rattle gun sound actually matters. So,
all right, I'll get that on a trophy too.
You've got a week, mate. You've got a week to practice that rattle gun sound.
No worries, sounds good.
See you again next Monday night, Braden. Your opportunity to thank your sponsors before we let you go.
Yeah, just shout out to all the Locked On lads. Shout out to Jeremy from Locked On Black Sheep Racing for joining me tonight. It was a bit of a shame not to have all the boys out tonight, but it was just me and him representing. Shout out to Brewster.coffee, major sponsor. If you want to find the best coffee place in your area, make sure you go and have a look at there and leave a review. And then just obviously the currently on hiatus Locked On iRacing podcast. Go back and have a listen to all our wonderful interviews that we've done from people in the community. While we're just having a little bit of a break, we'll try and get back as soon as possible.
Now, before I actually let you go, there was one further thing that I completely and utterly forgot that I wanted to talk to you about.
Yep.
I got the opportunity to talk to Wilco last night, and
Oh, dear.
now I want to know if this is truth or not. Apparently, you've been really, really excited about the championship position you're currently in, and he said you did not shut up about it the last couple of times he's spoken to you. So, confirm or deny?
Definitely deny. Definitely deny. First of all, Wilco's too busy to speak to anyone, so you're lucky you even got to chat to him. So, I've been hassling him trying to sort out the teams for the Spa 24-hour that we're planning on doing, and trying to get hold of him's like finding a needle in a haystack. So, definitely deny.
Okay. All right. I will inform him that he is a very, very bad information source, and he'll never hear the end of that one. Braden, thank you very much for joining us.
If I am leading the championship, I may have to post the standings in the Discord for the boys, just in case, Just in case.
Mate, you make sure in all your group chats this week, you make sure somebody else brings it up first. Go and have a chat to Jeremy and tell Jeremy he's got to bring up your first in the championship. You don't discuss it. You don't say a word about it until somebody else does.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Thanks, boys. Have a good night.
All right, that's Braden Martin, ladies and gentlemen, from Locked On Lads. And finally, he missed out last week by 300 to 400 meters on a win. This week, forget fuel mileage. Grant Matterford wins it on pure, raw, unadulterated speed. The driver of the 79 Pulse Racing machine. Boy, that thing looks pretty.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I'm stoked with that win on pace alone. Feel like I missed out on one last week, so it's good a week later to get the win finally.
Make sure you go and tell Lockie Capel, mate, you better come back. I'm the oval driver on this team now.
Don't worry, I've already messaged him. I'll have to check if I've leaped him in the points yet or not.
He had an absolute horrendous run at the start of things for you, Grant, but Lockie had a great run of things. Lockie's left, so apparently there's only enough luck in that team for one driver.
That's it. It's good to get the Pulse Racing team truck back in the winner's circle.
Mate, I'm really impressed with the pace as well because it wasn't a fluke. Talk to me about the work that goes into setting up for something like this and a result like this, because you've slowly been building as the season goes on. You finally show up at Motegi. It's probably the trickiest track that we've raced on so far throughout the season. And you line up on the front row. When was the last time you lined up on a front row for anything?
Yeah, it's been a while, and I probably don't put as much practice in as I should, but I made sure I turned up for the full session tonight. So, warmed my way up into it. It's a tricky track, fairly flat, not too much banking. I've done a few miles around here in IndyCar, that was the first time in a NASCAR. So, I was pretty impressed with my pace in Pracky.
It's all experience. It's the IndyCar stuff. See, Nathan? See what I said? IndyCar is great for everything. Just jump in an IndyCar, drive an IndyCar everywhere. You'll be better everywhere. That's how it works.
Yeah, I remember driving the IndyCar around here, how much of a challenge it was. It felt like just a flat track with no banking. It's quite challenging on the throttle and steering. So, that probably gave me a bit of experience in it. And I quite enjoy these tracks where there's a bit of braking, a bit of down into third through turns 3 and 4 there. So, a bit more driver input rather than the super speedways.
And it's not just mash gas and get out of there either. When you get down into turn 3 and 4, you've really got to build the revs and be careful with how much rear slide there is. First off, you're trying to catch the car on the way into turn number 1. The car just sort of doesn't want to turn in. Then you hit the bumps, and then all of a sudden on exit, the rear end's just flicking around on you. You get down in turn 3 and 4, and it's pretty much more of the same, just at a much slower speed. It's so tricky in terms of where the grip levels are, and it's even worse when there's no heat in the tires.
Yeah, totally. Like my first few practice laps, I was sideways a lot. I even mucked up in my first qualifier, getting sideways too much on the gas. So you just get that muscle memory after a while of how much you can really push it. But you're on the limit. The more you push it, the more you're hitting those rear tyres. So that first stint, I think, was really interesting. I'm not sure, may not have looked at as much as it on the broadcast, but the three of us were just going flat out the front, and you could just tell that, I think Hayden got a bit of a gap, but he sort of used his tyres up a bit, and then Braden and I were able to catch him up in that first stint. But yeah, there's not much between the three of us on pace tonight.
And it's such a unique thing in terms of the NASCARs and stock cars as well. There's no other series like it. Every other series, you just go as hard as you can for the entire duration of the race. NASCARs, you actually got to hold back a little bit.
Yeah, and that was it, and trying to time your pit stop too, because I was getting a bit worried in that last stint because I was running longer. Worked for me last week, so I ran a bit longer than the guys, but my lap times just dropped off drastically. So I knew I had to come in and get the fresh rubber. Luckily for me, I just did that, I think, before that second last yellow came out. So I had fresher tyres at the end, and I knew I had the pace to match Braden and Hayden, and on better tyres than them, I knew I could pull away.
So talk to me about the two different finishes last week. I actually said at the top end of the show, I actually think you could have been a fair bit more aggressive with the way that you positioned your car and how you tried to fight through traffic last week. This week, you just went, you know what? Stuff it. I know I've got the pace. Let's fight for something here.
Yeah, that green-white checker last week, I'd probably have the tyre and the pace to do something, but in 2 laps, I think it was going to be win it or bin it, and I decided to just probably get a good finish last week after leading and almost taking the win. So yeah, I was a bit cautious last week, but was keen to get a good result. This week, I think once you're in practice and quality, once you know you got the pace, then you got the confidence to be a bit more aggressive and know that you can run with the guys.
Well, talk to us about the final 2 restarts as well. We spoke to Braden about his mindset from restarting on the second row, initially on the outside lane, then on the inside lane. And the convenient thing for Braden is he restarted directly behind you both times, but you had to get that jump. You had to stay with Aiden Norris, and then you had to use the tyres up. What's the mentality of that? How were you thinking? Did you have a particular corner where you thought you were more likely to get the overtake done? What talk us through all of that?
Oh, in general, I hate being on that front row on the outside because, just on a single screen, it's really hard to see when the guy goes. And so sometimes it's easier on the second row. But no, I think I knew I had the tyre life, so I wasn't too worried about getting the jump. Or I knew I was always strong coming out of 3 and 4 with the extra grip. So that's probably where the spot was going to be made. But yeah, it was, and I think Hayden had hit the wall on that second last restart, so I knew he was a bit damaged. So yeah, I was pretty confident with the tyre life I had that I could get it done from there.
And then the last lap, Braden Martin's starting to close in. You know you've probably just got enough of a benefit. How cautious were you into turn 3 and 4 for the final time?
Just as I was every lap, just trying to make sure I hit the marker. But they are still going full guns blazing in there. It's very tricky though. It's very easy once if you don't slow it down early enough, you really push very high up. So yeah, I just made sure I hit my marks, and yeah, I was confident I had him covered. But he was probably coming a few more laps beyond that. Could have been interesting.
All right, mate. Well, final question before I let you thank your sponsors. But do you know what a NASCAR rattle gun sounds like? And do you know how many lug nuts are on a NASCAR?
Well, there's probably 5 or 6, and then they've probably heard you in the broadcast to the great demo of that last week. So,
all right. Well, you've dobbed yourself in. Now you've got to do your impersonation of a NASCAR rattle gun for me.
Oh, no chance. I'm not. No chance doing that, mate.
Forget it. All right. Well, you've got to practice between now and next week, because I think we're going to try and get every driver to give us their best rattle gun impersonation.
To come up with something.
Right ahead.
Yeah, Century Batteries, our primary supporter. Century Batteries Lismore, and CM Security up there in Townsville, and Australian Waterproofing Company, and West Performance. The car's looking pretty good, and yeah, looks even better in Victory Lane.
She does. She is a very pretty baby blue. We'll hopefully see you next week out in Victory Lane at Indianapolis. You got 4 90-degree turns. You're an IndyCar fan. How many laps have you done in Indianapolis, do you think?
In the NASCAR, none, but I did 3 Indy 500s this year and a couple last year, so yeah, plenty of laps around there, but it'll be interesting to see how the truck goes around that. Yeah, it's a very similar track, not too much banking. And
well, then, more importantly, I hope you got a pitcher of milk to drink after the race next week if it's in Victory Lane then.
Yeah, some milk and rattle gun.
Milk, rattle gun, and have a brick somewhere nearby that you can give a kiss at the end of the win. I'm teaching Nathan all of these things about oval racing and their quirks, so he's going to have to learn a whole host of things next week after Indianapolis, that's for sure.
All good, sounds good, and good luck with your IndyCar endeavours as well.
All right, thanks, mate. Thank you a whole bunch. Ladies and gentlemen, Grant Matterford, your winner. 1 week late, but better late than never in the SRW TV NASCAR Truck Series round number 9. Nathan, that is the penultimate race of the season. The car numbers have fallen off, but if anything, I think the racing's heated up.
Mate, it definitely has. But honestly, the car numbers have only fallen off, by like 8, 9 cars. And I do know a few guys tonight were held up due to work reasons. So, we would have seen a field of, 20 plus. But, mate, honestly, the racing is still super exciting. And I cannot wait for the next 2 rounds.
The most important thing before we go, Nate, you've got a week to practice your rattle gun impersonation, by the way. Do you think you can do a quick YouTube of what a NASCAR pit stop sounds like before we go out? You've got a few seconds. I'll cover for you for a few seconds whilst you look that one up.
I think it takes me 2 seconds.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure to bring you all the coverage here from Motegi, the Twin Ring Motegi Oval out in Japan. 1.5 mile circuit with 1.5 times the fun and drama. Late race, Paul Bryan gets into a biffo with Aiden Norris. That could be championship deciding. Braden Martin clambers all the way back up to a P2 after a disastrous final stop. Next week, we head to Indianapolis. 2.5 miles, 2 big long straights, 2 good old short shoots, 4 corners. They're all 90 degrees in direction change, and it's going to be one of the most interesting races that you've seen so far. The championship, there's nothing in it. There is literally a car width in it. And Indianapolis tends to be decided by thousandths of a second. Will you be here next week for the broadcast? You better damn well hope so, as we finally try and find out from Jacob Hughes what exactly is on down at that boat ramp. You'll be able to hear all of the action, and all of the action brought to you proudly by the Rattle Gun Challenge. We're gonna call out. We might start the stream early to kick off the Rattle Gun Challenge. We'll see how we go.
Like
Nathan, have you found out a NASCAR pit stop?
We just listened to it. The last minute you were talking, it had some dramatic music and a heap of different NASCAR pit stop sounds. So it was actually a really good find.
Well, there you go. You have heard all of the background. That is what a NASCAR pit stop sounds like. That is what a championship is probably going to sound like being decided next week. It was decided by tire condition here tonight. Will it be decided by tire condition next week? Bring a picture of milk. There's going to be a yard of bricks next week from the SRW TV grand finale of NASCAR Truck Season 1. Nathan, it's been an absolute honor to get this far in the season with amazing racing. You want to close us out?
Yeah, definitely, mate. And yeah, please, if you enjoyed the stream tonight, hit that like button, the subscribe buttons, the follow buttons. Share us with all your friends. Tell all your friends and family how awesome we are and how awesome our drivers in the series are. But of course, tonight I've been Nathan Shippy Howard with our encyclopedia of all things oval Scotty ranking here on Sim Racing World TV. On the behalf of the management and broadcast team here, we would like to say good night and thank you all for joining us, and congratulations to our drivers. And we will see you all next week for the champion round. The champion.